So why would Rittenhouse care about a NASCAR race? Well, why do they care about any of the crazy things they do? At the end of the day, their plan is, well, mysterious ways.
Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing.
The Darlington 500, Episode 2 of Season 2 of Timeless. And there's still a lot going on as far as the whole idea of what is going on with the series. They're at war throughout time, and the problem with that is that when you're at war throughout time, you have no idea how many times your interactions are going to mess things up, or someone else's interactions are going to mess something up, even by accident. Tonight's episode really takes us even further into this, because it delves into the entire concept of how Rittenhouse is going to do what it's been doing. However, I've also been reminded, because of a comment on last week's video, that I missed something in the Rittenhouse plan, something that actually was pretty brilliant from a time travel point of view. And since I give them a lot of crap for their time travel, I gotta give them this one. I missed it. But for those of you that don't know what I do here, I review stories. TV shows, movies, books as they come out, Throwback Thursdays, almost every Thursday, and then I do theory videos on Sundays. In fact, I just have one about empowerment. If that sounds fun, click subscribe and watch as I take apart these stories. Now, last week we learned that there are Rittenhouse agents hidden throughout the timeline. They've tried their best to make it so that they have an ongoing loop, something that will allow them to take control throughout all of time, and in modern day, control it. Well, as Tabitha pointed out to me, last week's episode, they took the guy after his reported death. They saved his life, but for all intents and purposes, he was just reported dead. So, dead. That conserves the timeline for once. That's time travel like 101. Way to go. But alright, before we get too far into what's been going on, let's throw this up there and talk about tonight.
So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. Ba-da-na-na.
So I expected that we were going to pick up immediately with Flynn. The fact that we went into the past first, and then even jumped to what's going on with the main crew, kinda surprised me, because we didn't get to see the full debrief. We just found out that basically they need Flynn, because Flynn knows a lot more about Rittenhouse than they do. And it's one of those things where it's kind of annoying, but they're going to have to work with him. And I'm surprised that it's going to take so long that by the beginning of this episode, Lucy hasn't realized that. Meanwhile, we have our crew here already showcasing one of the big flaws with the way this time travel show works. See, they didn't know what was going on in 1955. And why should they? I mean, yeah, okay, Wyatt should have put some of it together because it was an important race. But realistically, even that. I mean, there are 100 minor events that lead to major events at any point in time. And Lucy, of all people being a historian, should realize the domino effect that could cause. Or if not her, maybe Rufus is an engineer realizing what happens when one thing cascades into another. Meanwhile, we still have visions of the future, of post-apocalyptic future, coming from his girlfriend. So, I'm not quite sure what to make of the entire way they're doing the team. Now, Rittenhouse seems to have thought some of this through, but not all of it. And as such, I'm curious to see where they're going with this. The fact is that they've planted agents, and part of the agency, part of the plan, is to kill certain people so that they can take control. The plan, as it's explained to us tonight, is blow up a race. That race has a bunch of people in charge of car companies. Car companies are going to be important all the way through the last half of the 20th century and into the 21st century. And therefore, those people that control the cars control life, control business, control money, control influence. And with that, if Rittenhouse can take control, they control all those things. Of course, at the same time, we have to kind of wonder, is that really the best plan? Now, we got about halfway through the episode before I realized what the theme was, although in retrospect, it was obvious from one of the first lines. Do the sins of your father And are you who your father made you, or, well, your mother in the case of Lucy? But at the end of the day, how much do they pass on? And how much are you able to move on? Now, there's a great line why it says why he can laugh it off at the same time as calling his father a bastard. Because he drove his car into a lake. Now, of course, being a bit of a bastard is one thing, but working for Rittenhouse to try to change history to take over the world, I think is a wee bit much. But okay, let's get into some of the specifics of what happened. So, first they have to escape because they find out that the Rittenhouse agent has already been there for 6 or 7 years at least, maybe as much as 10 years, and he's inserted himself to the point where the character that they become friends with in this episode, the historical figure, even knows him as a good Christian man who goes to church every Sunday. I mean, seriously, once you realize that they could be dropping off suicide bombers, 10 years before they need to be used? I mean, who knows what they could and couldn't have. Last week we had someone climbing up through the ranks. This week we have someone who's created a whole family for himself, which of course ties back into the whole theme. Now, I'm not quite as impressed with the historical significance of what was going on this week as I have been in some of the previous episodes. But then again, if the show's going to continue for any length of time, not every episode can have Madame Curie and the writer Ian Fleming. I mean, they just can't. So instead we get a famous bootlegger who won a NASCAR race. And we get a villain that is Rittenhouse rewriting who won what and trying to kill a whole bunch of... now that I think about it, right from the beginning, once they drop the agent off and return, shouldn't the whole timeline be reverting? So shouldn't they already know that a bunch of car people died? Yeah, we're in the Bill and Ted's the clock's always ticking in San Dimas level of, alright, I'm gonna just disregard that because I'm enjoying the show still. Even when the time travel's not perfect, and the science is iffy at best, I have to say, the interpersonal relationships are great. The Lucy Wyatt almost kiss definitely pays off a lot of what we were looking at for the Will They Won't They from Season 1. I just hope they don't stretch it too far. And of course, the fact that the time agent that was left back in time had a family just upped the stakes even more. For a second, I really thought he was going to turn and go with them against Rittenhouse, but instead they shoot him dead. And then a chase sequence happens, one that feels like it would fit more in The Dukes of Hazzard than in Timeless, but I have to admit I had fun. Although, partly at the end I also felt that that was getting into the paint and spray from Grand Theft Auto more than even The Dukes of Hazzard. But that's fine too, because again, it just seemed fun and actiony. Now, one of the big differences we have this season as opposed to last season is we have point of view characters that we can follow in Rittenhouse. 2 of them specifically. Well, maybe 3, because maybe Psycho Leader Dude is going to become a regular, reoccurring character. So, he printed out Wikipedia because his eyes hurt looking at the tablet, and he couldn't listen to an MP3 player of the same music. It had to be a record player from his time. But he was capable of contemplating temporal mechanics at such a level that he drew a map to change history. A map that he says will allow him to break away the worst parts of humanity, save the best, the way Michelangelo chipped away at the stone to make a statue. And here we go. Next week looks like it's going to be a more interpersonal episode, so I don't know if we're going to get more of this reveal or not. But I'm curious what you think of the plan. And what do you think of the way they've been doing things? Is Season 2 as good as Season 1? I've liked a lot of it, but it just hasn't felt that oomph that I did. And either way, let me know what you think of my video, too. And if you like it, give me a thumbs up and share this video. And of course, click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Because I'm building up a community, one that we could talk about all of the stories and how and why we tell them. And Timeless is going to be one of those ones that I think is going to give us an ingenious look as to why we tell stories. Because all you need to do is take a look at all of the little lessons that we learn in each episode, the little historical nuggets, to get to the heart of what they were thinking about with Timeless. I hope you have a good night, and thanks for watching.